All right, welcome to another edition of the Georgia Track and Field and Cross Country Coaching Collective podcast. Today, joined by Coach Nick Hustalakis of Marietta, and then we have our guest today, Coach Joseph Robinson of Lowndes, that we're excited to have. And before we dive in to our interview with Coach Robinson, just a brief spiel about the collective. If you're interested in, if you're a new coach or a veteran coach and you're wanting to get information about warm-ups or booster clubs or any variety of topics that come up with coaching, you can go to our website, georgiatfxccollective.com, and find things that other coaches around the state have submitted. We're also on social media, on Instagram, on Twitter. And we have a YouTube channel as well with other interviews and podcasts we've done. So check us out. Send us comments if you have any, and like if you can subscribe on YouTube, that'd be great too. So you can get instant updates when we post these interviews. But today, focus is on like I said, Coach Joseph Robinson from Lowndes, and he's the girls coach at Lowndes, and they have won multiple region championships and were the 2022 7A state champions on the girls side as well. So outstanding program, and we're excited to talk to him today. So welcome, Coach.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Um, First thing I wanted to ask is just how you got involved in track and field and coaching. What's your kind of backstory?
Um, Many years ago, my oldest daughter, she showed an interest in track, and she was running in middle school, and I had just got out of the military, and I was just volunteering at the school, and was asked to coach track, and so I was like, yeah, my daughter will be out there, so I help out, and I had a lot of fun doing it, and so the next year, I ended up becoming the assistant boys coach at the high school under Coach Quinn, Terry Quinn, who's still the head boys track coach now. And I coached boys with him for 3 years. And then after that, I became the head girls track coach back in 2014. I want to say 12 or 14. I became the head girls coach. Been running it ever since then.
Standing, coach. You said you have military background, and you also sounds like you're a girl dad, just like I am, and I'm pretty sure Andy, as
Yes.
are you.
Yeah.
What is your coaching style? How would your athletes describe you when you're in practice running a
Um,
workout?
Pretty sure my older athletes will have something completely different than my more current ones. But I have an aggressive style back in the day, very like demanding of my athletes. I still demand a lot out of them today. I just changed my approach to it. Um,
Okay.
the kids always know what their workout is. They know what the expectations are, and that's helped me evolve as a coach. Just letting the kids know what my expectations are, and holding them accountable for everything, as well as our assistant coaches holding them accountable for everything. Because when we set our goals at the beginning of the year, and we try our hardest to achieve those goals, and so the kids they work hard at practice. We try to make sure that we keep the time of practice down, and so we try to get it in and get them home because staying for an extra hour isn't going to make them any better. And so over time, I learned that, and we work hard at practice, really hard. But it's a business when we're out there for 120 minutes a day. We just get it done during that time.
Outstanding.
Let me piggyback on what you just said a little bit. You said you try to have an efficient practice. What are some things that you feel like you've gotten better at as a coach to make it an efficient practice?
With my coaches, we make sure we have our practice plans ready to go, and this whatever events we're working on during that day, we try to make sure that we're very conscious of the time that we have for that day. What events the kids are doing. If we have weightlifting that day, how we're going to run practice, and what are we going to do later on? Because I also coach the jumping events as well. And so I align my schedule throughout practice. We do about 45 minutes for warm ups. And then based on what we're doing, then I have my time already set to the side for those events and those workouts. And then we go from there. And we stay strict by our time as far as the workouts are concerned. And so if you don't make it during that time, it's not like we used to do in the old school where you get to the end of practice we continue to go on. And I get that a lot from when I coach football and we started using the period clocks as far as being efficient with our practices and staying on time with everything. And it's helped us with our recovery time and the kids just being healthy throughout the season. And we've been seeing a lot of benefits from it.
Coach, I got to tell you, one of the areas that I've improved the most about, and I know we're here to interview you, but just to piggyback on what you just said, like I think the usage of time and making sure that we're not wasting time at practice has become the biggest priority, because anytime you're there past 120 minutes, like you just said, something went wrong or something is very inefficient, you're going to get a kid hurt. You're going to get parents upset in the parking lot waiting for their kids. It's an inefficient way to run a program. So I 100% agree with the management of time and making sure that everything is done with the purpose, and you understand what you're doing before you go in. The kids understand what they're doing before they go into a drill or a rep of something, and there's meaning behind it. So therefore, what you're doing has a purpose to it, and you're not wasting time and getting kids hurt. I agree with that wholeheartedly, 100%. And I think every time you ask a coach, where have you improved that? I think that this is one of those areas that, like, just as maturity happens, as we go through the years of experience of running practices, and you begin to figure out what needs to be done correctly and efficiently. And time management is like number one on every coach's list. That is without fail, just about.
Yes, it is. And on Friday, I'm even more detailed. So based off what I'm doing, I send the list out right before Friday practice, so the kids know at whatever time exactly what they're working on. So I may have my first leg just working on curve runs, my second leg, my fourth leg working on coming out the blocks, running if they're also 100-meter sprinter, or if they run the 200, we may work on curve work, come out the blocks during that time. So while we're working on relays, if they have individual events, they're working on that during that time as well. And so we're just trying to be really efficient with our practices that way.
Coach, you mentioned you have a football background. Nick actually has that as well in his past, and that kind of connects to what I wanted to ask you about next. You mentioned different events, doing different things. How do you, as a coach, balance what the athlete wants to do versus what you see and their skill set, and you think, ooh, this person would really be good at jumps, or whatever the case may be? How do you balance those two things?
I always give everything to my student athletes as, number one, we're a family, and we look out for the betterment of the entire team. And so I'm real big on technical events like triple jump. Like, I love coaching triple jump. And I remember when we had Kaylin here, and when she first came out of middle school, of course, down here, we don't do triple jump in middle school. I saw her jump one day, and I was like, I think you can win the state in triple jump. She was like, I've never done it before. And I was like, well, I'll teach you. And the very first day we worked on our phases, she was just jumping off the runway. And I was like, yeah, we got something here. And so I always explain to the kids that you've never done anything until you try it once. And so once you try it, if I can tell as a coach that you can't do it, then we'll back off from it. But if I see deep down that you have potential, but you're a little afraid, we try to make it more comfortable for you. So we may move to the grass. We may move to where you can land on the mat if you're doing something, just to help you out. So now you're more comfortable with anything going on. And then once you get comfortable with it, then we move baby steps to get to something else. And so I'm always in the hallway recruiting female athletes to do particular events. And so I look at them and I'm like, hey, I think you need to come out and try to pole vault. I've never done that before. And I'm like, well, of course you haven't, but we have a real good coach. He can coach you up on pole vault. You have the body type for it. You have a background in gymnastics. I think you'll be able to help us out. And so sometimes it works and other times it doesn't.
Outstanding, Coach. You mentioned the jumps here a few times that you coach the jumps. And for me, my passion, I love the 400. I love coaching the 400. I love the 4x4 relay. But what I really love teaching you mentioned technical aspect. I love teaching the 4x1. I love teaching the different legs. I love mixing and matching and getting the best pairings together. You coach the jumps. What is your passion? Is it the jumps, or do you have something else too that you really have a passion about?
I do have a passion for sprints, but I do the long and triple jump as well. I love the relays as well. That year we won state. Was my first year trying the silent exchange, and we really maxed out everybody, and everybody, like, just a crazy year that year, and the girls never had to say a word, even at practice. And so the first time I brought it up, they were like looking at me sideways. But I wanted to take the thinking aspect out for them, and we ran so much faster that way. But I like teaching those events that a lot of coaches don't like to coach. Like I love coaching hurdles, even though we have a hurdle coach. I love coaching triple jump. It's easy to coach long jump because if a kid can jump, if they hit the board, they can get lucky and jump real far. But triple jump, you have to work on every single phase. You have to work on that at least 2, sometimes 3 times a week. And the kid has to be disciplined, on the triple jump. So I love it. Same thing with hurdles. It's repetition, day after day after day. And you have to get very comfortable with that repetition. Same thing with our relays. I actually practice the 4x4 exchanges just like I do. I'm as intense with the 4x4 as I am with the 4x1. So we take it extremely serious. And I think that's what's helped our program grow so much over the years, because back in the day, people didn't really respect lounge track and field like they do now. And that's because we take every event serious and we try to get our athletes better in all those events. And so I love teaching those events. The 200, it is what it is, but 400, like you said, we're a 400 base team. And so we work real hard on that. And I've had to change the way I coach the 400 over the years. And I think it's been working out a lot better for our athletes.
Yeah, I'm a distance coach, but I am fascinated by all the events, especially the technical ones y'all are talking about, and the ones where you just got to practice form and be efficient with your form. So I'm fascinated by that. And as a former distance, runner, I sometimes feel like I picked the wrong events. Like you never hear a high jumper like, man, that last high jump really hurt, versus a 2 mile, 8 laps of drawn out pain. Let's go back to the relays, which I love watching at meets. But you talked about the exchanges, which obviously are vital. And I don't know how much you've seen at the professional level, but like our U.S. teams have struggled sometimes at the Olympic level of just getting the stick around. So what are your thoughts on the high school level of trying to help the student athletes to deal with that pressure of, it's not just me, it's my teammates, and working together to get the stick around the whole lap?
I'm gonna be honest. Since I've been coaching track at a high level in the state of Georgia, especially at the state meet, I don't see a lot of mistakes with the handoffs. I think our kids do a really good job in dealing with the exchange zone, and especially when we have a full 30 meters now, that we no longer have to worry about the acceleration zone. And so the kids have been doing really good with it, because now you can really play with the distance between runners. And so that year when we won the state, my second leg got the baton really early, and she gave it really late because she was just that fast. And so that helped us out a great deal. And so we played with that all year long until we got it just right. And we, people talk about peaking, but they really peaked at the right time. And so it baffles me at the sometimes collegiate level and the professional level when they have issues with the exchanges, and maybe they don't practice it as much. I know at the high school level, we're going to practice it every single week because we have a track meet on the weekend, and every now and then on the quad meet, we may have our first team run the 4x1 at that quad meet, just to make sure the timing and the handoffs and everything is up to par. So we get to run it live twice a week, and I think that helps a great deal.
Yeah. Have you had the opportunity to see the documentary Sprint on Netflix?
I did.
They did. They touched on that 4x1. Gabby Thomas actually sat there and said, she's like, we're competing against each other for 4 years, and all of a sudden we got to come together for these 2 weeks to prepare for this one event. And it just gave you a different perspective of it as to maybe how they, how these struggles come about year in, year out, Olympic year and whatnot. But anyway, that's not my question. I'm going to shift gears here towards, us being collective here, and we are big into coaches education. There's so many free resources out there, whether it's YouTube or just podcasts, and just so much literature online that you can get your hands on. What do you do to stay up to date on the latest techniques and strategies in the world of track and field?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm a real big TikTok guy. I get on TikTok. I follow a lot of track and field stuff on TikTok, as well as on Instagram. And so I typically send my athletes, if I find a real nice drill that'll help them out with something, I send it to them through Instagram, like, hey, check out this drill, and we can try it at practice tomorrow. Let me know if you like it or not. I get on YouTube, and so a lot of times, like for our hurdlers, I get on YouTube, find some drills for them, send it to them. Same thing, like with every single event. So I use everything as much as possible because I'm a little older than what I used to be. And so I can't do a lot of the drills. I make it look as smooth as the other athletes do. So they can look at somebody on TikTok or Instagram on YouTube, and they can do it. And plus, they have it on their phone all the time, so they can always see it. And I tell my athletes, when you go home, get in front of a mirror and practice. So now you can see how you look, because maybe you feel like you look awkward while you're doing it. And so they can do it that way as well. And so everything in baby steps. And I just send it out to the kids, and we try it at practice. And some drills work for some kids, and it doesn't work for the next kid. And so each athlete is different.
What I have found, and what I have found with using IG or using social media in general with that stuff, number one, everybody, including mine, everybody's attention span has shrunk tremendously since we were kids. When you send a kid a 10-second clip or a 5-second clip on some med ball drill, some plyo drill, whatever you're doing, I mean, it keeps their attention. It's short, it's to the point, and then all I have to put is, pay attention to the toes here, pay attention to the range of motion in the thigh. Like you can send that, and it's so effective, and they're just watching it on their phone, and it keeps their attention. We're talking 5 seconds, 10 seconds. I have used social media so much in the last couple of years, more so than I would have ever thought. And like my entire feed now on Instagram is all track and field drills. All the people that I'm following, it's like everything coming up now, and it's my own account, But it's like I'm with you. Social media, for all the negatives with it, there's a lot of positives, at least in our profession, with sharing these techniques with our kids.
Yeah. Myself and our boys coach, Coach Quinn, we do that a lot. So if I see something real neat, I'll send it to Coach Quinn, and he'll send it to the boys, or he'll do vice versa. He'll send it to me, and I'll send it to the girls. And so we try to keep each other abreast on everything social media wise is going on and share with our kids.
That's great.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's a great tip for other coaches out there. Coach, you mentioned maybe the results in the past, not what you wanted, and then changing things, and obviously had a lot of success recently. What other ways besides using social media do you think have changed the culture of Lowndes into what you guys are today?
I'm glad you asked that question. I'm gonna be honest. About 8 years ago, I want to say we were good around South Georgia, winning region, but we would hardly have any kids qualify for state. And we would go to state, and we were non-existent. And so I reached out to Coach Cage and Coach Sapp. I didn't know the guys during that time. I just sent them a random email. Hey, man, your programs are doing good. I would love to be where you guys are at. Can you help me out? We ended up exchanging phone numbers, and I started talking to those guys a lot. And I also had to change my mindset and my vernacular when talking to kids, because I only talk when in read. And so when it came a point to where I started talking about more kids qualify state in the invitation of our program, and we want to get more respect from the entire state of Georgia, the kids started having that same attitude that I was having. And so we wanted to start going to more competitive track meets. And so they wanted to start going to more competitive track meets. Because in the past, when they would get the sheet and see who they were running against, I don't want to run now. That girl faster than me. But now they embrace that challenge. And so our entire attitude has changed. And we had a chip on our shoulder for a long time. That's why coming into that 2022 season, all we talked about in that fall was winning the state championship. And I told the ladies, we have a shot. We had a moved in that year. Her name was Kanaya Johnson. She ended up being the Gatorade Athlete of the Year that year. And once she moved in, we knew that I just went and looked at the previous year and what I had everybody coming back. And I told the girls, we're going to win state this year. And so they had to start believing it. And once they started believing it, practice was so competitive. Track meets was so competitive. It was just easy. Like, it was easy to compete. Every single day of practice, at every track meet, and we dominated that year. And the girls, they embraced it, and the boys did the same thing. I mean, we got to the state track meet. The girls won the 4x1, and then boom, the boys won the 4x1. That had never happened before at Lowndes High School. And so we were like, hey, we're moving in the right direction. And we're still not satisfied now. And so we just constantly tell our kids that we have to constantly be able to compete with the teams up in Atlanta. Because just being honest, in the highest classification of it all, Atlanta is only the only thing they think about when it comes to track and field. South Georgia is not it. And so we always tell our kids that, hey, man, we want to be known on a state level and a national level. And so we try to get our kids to go to Adidas Nationals. If they can go to Nike, go to Nike and just do everything that we can. So I think that's what's changed the culture down here. And we try to get the parents involved as well, as far as like, hey, we need you here. We need to make sure that track and field is important to you as well. So we live in a big football town, and this is called Wintersville, USA down here. And so track is becoming a real big thing down here now. And we're happy about that.
That's outstanding. And I talked to Andy about this before we got on earlier today about how you guys are the standard, in South Georgia, without a doubt. And you have a complete team, like you mentioned earlier. And you've explained to us why you have a complete team, because it's a focus to yours. And then you've also explained how you guys changed your thinking and how you guys started scheduling differently to challenge your team. And as a coach, we've done podcasts on scheduling every year. I got to sit down and figure out what's best for my current team that we have coming up. And the schedule, it's not, we're fortunate enough to where we're able to host meets and fundraise for us to be able to go wherever we need to go to challenge our kids, whether that's out of state, whether that's, to get an hour-and-a-half bus ride one way to go somewhere to far to Gwinnett. Talk to me about what that's like for you in South Georgia when you're putting a schedule together, trying to challenge a state caliber team. Do you guys happen, and I don't know, honestly don't know, do you guys happen to travel down to Florida to get challenged here and there? Do you cross the state border here and there? Or do you guys primarily just focus on coming up to the Atlanta area and taking care of it that way?
Typically, when we go to Florida, we're like an hour away from Tallahassee. We may go to Tallahassee. We've been down to the Villages before, and we've run down there. But typically coming up to the Atlanta area. So this year we're coming to the Christian Coleman because we know that they're going to be having the sectional track meet there. So now our kids are having
there this year. We will see you guys there.
Yeah, so now our kids will have a chance to actually visit the track, walk the track before it really counts and means something before the sectional track meet, see how things are. And that's what we try to do now. Like, if we know wherever sectionals or state is going to be at, we try to take our kids there so they can be familiar with the area and not just get somewhere when it counts the most, because region, sectional, and state is what counts the most to me, and not just be at awe when they get there and be confused. And so that's all one big meet. And so, like you said, money does come into play. And so that's going to be an overnight trip for us. And so we do a lot of South Georgia back roading, track meets. We have a big one, which is called a Harmon's Invitational. So we get some teams from Florida that come up. And Monroe High School has been our biggest competition in South Georgia for a long time. And they've, for a long time, been having a really good track team. And so we compete against them quite often throughout the week as well. Coach Jones and his staff does a really good job over there. But, the challenge our kids, we try to come up there whenever we can. The year we won it, actually, we came up to your track meet up in Marietta. And that was our first real challenge for the kids. And I saw how they performed. And I was like, yeah, I think we really do have a chance. Last year for the girls, I knew that we were getting their minds right because we had a lot of young people. So we didn't schedule a really tough track schedule last year because just for the mental purposes, you don't want your kids to get beat down all year long either.
Absolutely.
So you want to work with them and let them develop. And so we called last year for the girls a developmental season, just developing in a lot of areas.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think, I just got done, everybody just got done watching some of the playoff games, and I'm glad that track and field doesn't have a strength of schedule component that we have to worry about being judged by at the end of our season, because I think there's an ebb and flow, like you just mentioned, about you gotta go to get some competition sometimes, but other times you need to maybe back off a little bit, intentionally be strategic. I loved what you said about reaching out to those coaches that you admired from afar, because that's something that as a collective we invite people to do. I think people sometimes are a little, I know I was maybe this way early on in my career, but little hesitant maybe sometimes, but I've just heard so many stories of what you said. Somebody sent in an email, "Hey, I admire your program. What do you guys do?" And coaches love to talk about about their sport, and what they love. And so I think people are really receptive to that. And then maybe as a result, you can pay it forward, and somebody can, when they reach out to you, you can, yeah, pass along your experience. To kind of go along with what you were just talking about, what do you want to do now to keep things going? You feel like you feel like the program's going in the right direction. So what's your focus now to keep this train rolling down the track?
Coach Quinn and myself, man, we put a lot into this program, and to be honest with you, our entire district has put a lot into this program now. We're in the process of getting a brand new facility. They're almost done with it now. It's going to be really nice. I would love to have you all come down really soon
to come.
Check it out.
Come down.
Yeah. And so our goal within the next 2 to 3 years is to host either sectional or state, and so they put a lot of money into it without me going into too much detail. And us track coaches, we had a lot of involvement as far as the design of the track, which means that our stakeholders believe in a lot of what we're doing. And we're really trying to make track a really big deal down here in South Georgia. So we had to go to board meetings and talk to people and get them to trust us, which they already did. And they put forth the money to make sure we have this really nice facility. And we're right off 75. And we have a lot of hotels here and a lot of restaurants. And in my opinion, we're the prime location to have a huge sectional or state track meet, or just a huge all-star track meet, And so our goal is to keep Lowndes High School track and field moving forward to where people all over know about our athletes and know about our program, because we're real proud of our program, and we have to tell our kids it's okay to know that you're a good program. We try to treat our kids like they're Division I athletes. So we try to look alike when we go places. We can't afford a charter bus like some of you guys can. So we ride the school bus, but we try to ride it in style. And I always tell our athletes it's about how you look when you get off the bus. Teams, they look at that. If you look like a unit when you get off the bus, you're doing everything the right way. You've already been trained. You know the expectations before you get there, and you perform like you're supposed to, people are always going to remember you. You don't want to be remembered for doing the wrong stuff, getting off the bus, not looking the same, going to the track meets, being a ruckus the whole time. We're here to perform. We're here to do our job, get back on the bus and bring home some hardware. And so we tell our kids every single track meet, it's a business trip. It's not a field trip. And so we take everything that we love to have fun, but it's so much more fun winning than losing. And so we try to tell our kids that, man, look, you can have fun, all right, but we want to win while having fun. And we also try to reward our kids and get them nice stuff. And we're really proud of what we have going on. We just got a brand new locker room. We're proud of that as well, and we're hoping that this facility, the track facility is done by the end of January. But if not, we'll be ready when it's open, and Sports Turf is doing that, and it's going to be really nice. So I'm telling you guys about it now. We'll put it all on our social media once it gets done. And so it's going to be really nice. And so Coach Quinn and myself and our assistant coaches and our principal and our assistant principals and our athletic director, our superintendent, and our board members have really put a lot into our track program. And I know that they trust us and they trust the kids a great deal.
Coach, that's outstanding. And when you guys are ready to host your first meet at that facility, you let us know. Marietta would love to come on down and check out your brand new facilities down in Lowndes County.
For sure.
Coach, as we wrap things up here, I think, first of all, that's very exciting. I think I get really excited when I hear about, really any program, improving, but then when it's outside of the metro area, because I know, like you said, a lot of times that most populated place in the state, so a lot of attention goes there, but there are great things happening in all areas of the state, and you're a big example of that. And I think it just helps our sport of track and field become even better, as there are a variety of programs, in different areas, and I think a sport or a team in any corner of the state can get inspired by anybody else. and I think your team will certainly do that for others. As we wrap things up here, could you just take a minute or two to say what you think about things in Georgia, track and field?
I love the way track and field is going in the state of Georgia. I mean, anytime you look at the stats, we're right up there with Florida and with Texas and with California in certain events. And so I'm just like, we have a lot of coaches that are doing the right things when it comes to the athletes. And I like that. And we're trying to get better in our events. We're trying to be very competitive. And as coaches, we've been smarter about how we have our athletes perform at the track meets. Like we do weightlifting. We have more programs that are lifting weights now, dealing with nutrition, and the state of Georgia is doing really well when it comes to track and field. And even when it comes to guys, and you look at football on Saturday, you see a lot of these guys that are like very explosive, and they talk about them running track at whatever high school they went to. And a lot of those kids are coming from the state of Georgia. So the state of Georgia is doing really good with track and field and all events. I guess we'll just see whenever the 400-meter hurdles come, how we'll be able to do with that whenever that time comes. But everything else, we're doing a really good job. And I think by us being able to have open lines of communication and being able to just learn from each other, that's the main reason why I try to go to the coaching clinic every year, so I can network with other coaches and just pick each other's brains. We're all getting better. And our kids are the ones who benefit from it. I don't have an ego. And so if your kid can benefit from something that I can teach them, that's awesome. If my kid can benefit from something that you can teach them, that's awesome as well. Yeah. And I think throughout the state, that's what we're doing. And all the kids are being helped because of that.
I love that. I think that's a great last point to make. Iron sharpens iron, and everybody gets better as a result of it. So, Coach Robinson, this has been an awesome time to get to hear about you and your program. A lot of appreciation for you guys, and thanks for joining us today, and best of luck this upcoming season. And we look forward to hearing about your y'all's facilities down there.
I appreciate it. One Lounge.